Hello Orchid friends, welcome back to my channel. Wherever you are, I hope you're having a great day, staying healthy and staying safe. This is my Phalaenopsis Sesame. It's blooming again. Every year it reliably blooms for me. Even though it is a grocery store Phalaenopsis, it did come with a name tag, which I'm really thankful for because now I know it's called Sesame. I think it got its name from the way the flower looks. It has so many tiny little dots on the flower. Later you'll see what I mean. And gosh, this is the only regular size large Phalaenopsis orchid I have. And because it's so large, I have to put it on the very top level of a bookshelf, a corner bookshelf. Because if I don't put it there, it would take up so much space that I use for my other mid to small size orchids on the growing rack. It is a huge orchid and it is still in its original container and medium, which is bark chips. The reason I keep it there and have not given this orchid a repot is because it is still doing so well. And depending on what you do with this type of orchid, for example, I only give this orchid 1/4 cup of water each time. And because it's a large orchid with lots of roots, established roots inside the bark chips, it takes up that 1/4 cup of water really quickly. And because it has a couple roots growing out to the inner cup, so it's in between the inner cup and outer cup at the bottom, so even if there's excess water at the bottom, those roots can also drink up, can absorb those water. So this orchid is properly hydrated, but at the same time, 1/4 cup of water is not going to make the medium stay wet for too long. And that's why these bark chips, original bark chips, is still, just fine. They're not broken down. But at some point, I will have to give this orchid a repot, but I'm gonna wait until this orchid give me some warning signs. Typically, when the organic medium is broken down, you're gonna start to see, for example, the bark breaking down and start to have those powdery from the breakdown, powdery, like the bark chip is no longer going to be hard. If you press it, you can tell that it's, degrading, decomposing. And then sometimes you see the leaves start to turn yellow quickly. That means, the roots is probably rotting in the old medium. And the reason I'm really giving this orchid an experiment just to see how long it will last before it tells me that it needs to be repotted. I can do this kind of experiment because I see this type of orchid in my local grocery stores all the time. And okay, this is probably not a nice thing to say, but I was secretly hoping that at some point, if I do lose this orchid, I can replace it with a mid-size Sesame, the same type of orchid, but it's hybridized to be a smaller size orchid, like a mid-size. I've never seen a miniature size, but I've seen a mid-size one. But when I saw that at a grocery store, but I already have this big one, I kind of wish that I waited, but it's okay. This orchid has always brought me joy as well, just because of all the dots on the flower. This is also purchased when I was in that phase where I was very attracted to orchid flowers with markings, dots, or patterns. So this orchid still brings me joy, so I'm not going to get rid of it or sabotage it until the nature does its thing and tells me that it needs to be repotted. But at some point, if, for example, this orchid is having issue and then eventually I lose it, I'll definitely keep an eye out for a mid-sized plant instead of the big one, because otherwise it can only stay on the very top of a corner bookshelf, and I don't have anywhere else to put it except all the way high up. When I need to reach this orchid, I'll have to extend my arm fully just to even grab hold of the container to get it down, to give it water and put it back up. Speaking of watering, this orchid gets 1/4 cup of water, and sometimes there is a little bit of excess water at the bottom. It's fine because it also has some roots grown out of the inner cup already, so it's never been a problem. And based on my experience with this orchid, 1/4 cup is great because it stays properly hydrated, but then also can have that wet dry cycle within 7 days, which is ideal. Now, the oldest 2 leaves are large, and the 3 newer leaves are slightly smaller, and that's understandable because I don't use too much fertilizer on this orchid, and those 2 old big leaves are grown by the orchid nursery wherever it came from. So obviously I'm not as pro as those commercial orchid nurseries, so it's understandable that the leaves are slightly smaller, but the fact that it blooms every year, I think this orchid is doing just fine. I'm gonna probably give this orchid another year to see if it will need to be repotted, but otherwise I think this orchid I have nothing to complain about this orchid other than the size and maybe the fact that it does not have fragrance, but I did not buy this orchid for its fragrance, so I can't really say it's a disadvantage. Yeah, and like you can see here, there are some aerial roots, not too much, and primarily all the roots are in the medium, and bark chips the medium is doing just okay, but I just hope that next time, if I do have to replace this orchid, I can find a mid-sized one. Other than that, I still like this orchid a lot, and I don't know if you have this in your local market. It's a very hardy, easy to care for orchid, and it blooms reliably every single year. So if you're interested, go to your local grocery store. You may just find one like this. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!